When installing a standby generator with an automatic transfer switch, and the generator set includes an integral main breaker, you generally do not need to install a separate service disconnect between the meter and the automatic transfer switch. This is especially true if the main panel is directly on the other side of the wall, allowing the automatic transfer switch to refeed the panel directly. The integral main breaker and the generator set effectively serves as the main service disconnect for the system when the generator is operating. To ensure compliance with the National Electrical Code, specifically NEC 700.12a, it states that enclosures for service equipment shall not be used as enclosures for other equipment or apparatus. This means the automatic transfer switch and the generator's main breaker should be in their own separate enclosures. Also, NEC 700.23 requires that service equipment must be readily accessible. The arrangement with the automatic transfer switch and integral main breaker positioned next to the meter base typically meets this accessibility requirement. It's important to consider that the integral main breaker within the generator set acts as the primary disconnect when the generator is providing power. This breaker must be appropriately sized for the generator's output and must be capable of disconnecting the generator from the load. The automatic transfer switch's function is to seamlessly switch between the utility power and the generator power, and it does not typically serve as the main service disconnect in this configuration. The placement of the automatic transfer switch and the generator in relation to the meter and main panel is crucial for meeting code requirements and ensuring safety. If the main panel is immediately adjacent to the meter, the automatic transfer switch can be installed between the meter and the main panel, with short conduit runs or nipples connecting them. This minimizes the need for additional disconnects. However, the specific requirements can vary based on local codes and interpretations. Therefore, it is always advisable to consult with local electrical inspectors or a qualified electrical engineer to confirm compliance with all applicable regulations. Additionally, the wiring and connections must be performed by qualified personnel to ensure safe and reliable operation. The size of the conductors connecting the generator, automatic transfer switch, and main panel must be appropriately sized for the load and in accordance with NEC tables such as Table 310.15b16. Overcurrent protection must also be properly coordinated to prevent nuisance tripping and ensure adequate protection against faults. Proper grounding and bonding are also critical for safety and to prevent electrical shock hazards. The generator, automatic transfer switch, and main panel must be properly grounded in accordance with NEC Article 250. This includes grounding electrodes, grounding electrode conductors, and equipment grounding conductors. Furthermore, surge protection should be considered to protect sensitive electronic equipment from voltage spikes and surges, particularly when the generator is operating. Surge protective devices can be installed at the main panel or at individual circuits to provide additional protection. Regular maintenance of the generator and automatic transfer switch is also essential to ensure reliable operation. This includes periodic inspections, testing, and servicing to identify and correct any potential problems before they cause a failure. The generator should be started and run periodically to ensure that it is in good working condition and that the batteries are fully charged. The automatic transfer switch should also be tested to verify that it is switching properly between the utility and generator power. In addition to these considerations, it is also important to consider the noise level of the generator and to take steps to minimize noise pollution. Generators can be quite noisy, and it is important to locate the generator in a location where the noise will not be a nuisance to neighbors. Sound attenuating enclosures and mufflers can be used to reduce the noise level of the generator. Finally, it is important to have a clear understanding of the generator's power output and the load requirements of the equipment that it will be powering. The generator must be sized appropriately to handle the load, and it is important to avoid overloading the generator. Overloading the generator can damage the generator and can also cause a fire. To properly size a generator, you must first determine the total load requirements of all the equipment that will be powered by the generator. This includes both the running wattage and the starting wattage of each piece of equipment. The running wattage is the amount of power that the equipment consumes while it is running, and the starting wattage is the amount of power that the equipment consumes when it is first turned on. The starting wattage is typically higher than the running wattage, especially for equipment that has motors. Once you have determined the total load requirements, you can select a generator that is capable of providing enough power to meet those requirements. It is always a good idea to select a generator that is slightly larger than the total load requirements to provide a margin of safety. For example, if the total load requirements are 15 kilowatts, you should select a generator that is rated for at least 18 or 20 kilowatts. Another critical aspect of generator and automatic transfer switch installations is the coordination with the local utility company. Many utility companies have specific requirements for connecting generators to their grid, including requirements for transfer switches, protective relays, and other equipment. It is essential to contact the utility company before installing a generator to determine their specific requirements and to obtain any necessary permits or approvals. In some cases, the utility company may require the installation of a visible break disconnect switch to isolate the generator from the grid. This switch allows the utility company to safely disconnect the generator from the grid in the event of a power outage or other emergency. The location of the generator is also an important consideration. Generators should be located in a well-ventilated area, away from combustible materials, and protected from the elements. The generator should also be located in a location where it is easily accessible for maintenance and repairs. If the generator is located outdoors, it should be protected from rain, snow, and direct sunlight. A generator enclosure can be used to protect the generator from the elements and to reduce noise pollution. The type of fuel used to power the generator is another important consideration. Generators can be powered by gasoline, diesel fuel, natural gas, or propane. Each fuel has its own advantages and disadvantages. Gasoline is readily available and relatively inexpensive, but it is also flammable and can be difficult to store for long periods of time. Diesel fuel is less flammable than gasoline and can be stored for longer periods of time, but it is more expensive than gasoline. Natural gas is a clean-burning fuel that is readily available in many areas, but it requires a connection to a natural gas pipeline. Propane is a portable fuel that can be stored in tanks, but it is more expensive than natural gas. The choice of fuel will depend on the specific application and the availability of fuel. The installation of an automatic transfer switch requires careful attention to detail to ensure that it is properly wired and configured. The automatic transfer switch must be wired in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions and all applicable electrical codes. The automatic transfer switch must also be configured to properly sense the loss of utility power and to automatically start the generator and transfer the load to the generator. The automatic transfer switch should also be configured to automatically transfer the load back to the utility power when the utility power is restored. Regular testing and maintenance of the automatic transfer switch are essential to ensure that it is operating properly. The automatic transfer switch should be tested periodically to verify that it is switching properly between the utility and generator power. The automatic transfer switch should also be inspected for any signs of damage or wear. Any necessary repairs or replacement should be made promptly. Proper documentation of the generator and automatic transfer switch installation is also important. This includes keeping records of the generator's specifications, the automatic transfer switch's wiring diagrams, and the results of any testing and maintenance. This documentation will be helpful for troubleshooting any problems and for ensuring that the generator and automatic transfer switch are properly maintained. In summary, installing a standby generator and automatic transfer switch requires careful planning, attention to detail, and compliance with all applicable electrical codes and regulations. By following these guidelines, you can ensure that your standby power system is safe, reliable, and provides the power you need when you need it. It is also vital to ensure proper labeling of all components, including the generator, automatic transfer switch, and main panel. Labeling helps in identifying the different parts of the system and their functions, making it easier for maintenance personnel and electricians to understand the system. The labels should be clear, durable, and permanently affixed to the components. They should also include relevant information such as voltage, amperage, and wattage ratings. Furthermore, it is crucial to educate the customer on the operation and maintenance of the standby generator system. This includes explaining how the automatic transfer switch works, how to start and stop the generator manually, and how to perform basic maintenance tasks such as checking the oil and coolant levels. The customer should also be provided with a copy of the generator's owner's manual and any other relevant documentation. Educating the customer will help them to understand the system and to operate it safely and effectively. Consideration should also be given to the environmental impact of the generator. Generators can produce emissions that can contribute to air pollution. It is important to select a generator that meets all applicable environmental regulations. It is also important to properly maintain the generator to minimize emissions. In some areas, it may be necessary to obtain a permit to operate a generator. The standby generator system should be inspected by a qualified electrician on a regular basis to ensure that it is operating safely and effectively. The inspection should include a visual inspection of all components, as well as testing of the automatic transfer switch and generator. Any necessary repairs or replacements should be made promptly. By following these recommendations, the installation should be safe, compliant, and able to provide reliable backup power.